Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from MaliciousCompliance. Story 1 is by Pink Orgasmatron. None requires a haircut every week or get expelled? Sure thing. This is my husband's story from high school. Let's call him Phil. Phil attended a private Catholic school from kindergarten through graduation. He was and still is a long-haired hippie. All was well until his senior year when a new nun became principal. She was offended by this boy's long hair. She was also warned by some of the other teachers, nuns, not to get into it with him because no doubt he will win. Phil and his father meet with the principal and offer a solution of wearing a wig so he doesn't have to cut his hair. The nun says no way. What if the other kids decide to do that? Nun insists that he get his hair cut or he will be expelled. Father says, okay, he will get his hair cut every week and we will provide receipts. Will that suffice? Nun agrees. Cue malicious compliance. Phil's dad takes him to the beauty shop, says cut as little as humanly possible off his hair. Hairdresser is all, why not just have me provide the receipt and not cut? Well, that wouldn't fly because they're going to be totally honest about the whole thing. A cut every week with a receipt. The hairdresser proceeds to do a haircut every week, just a trim, mind you, and provides a receipt. The nun has no recourse. Phil graduates with longer and healthier hair than he started the year with. My first thought was that Jesus has long hair, so why do they have a problem with it? But this is a Catholic school, not a Christian one. I wonder if they got this in writing from the nun. He's got to get a haircut every week. And so he does, but it's just like the tiniest bits of the ends cut off. Our next story is by Motormania85. I wasted 2 hours of my sister's time because she refused to listen to me. When I was younger, around a decade ago, I used to love two things, cars and roads. Still to this day, I love cars, but the way I loved roads was through maps. My favorite activity when I was bored was to go on the Maps app and look at the highways that surrounded my area. My oldest sister at the time was the only sibling of mine who had a license. One summer day, she was bored and decided to take me and her boyfriend to an amusement park an hour and a half away from home. The story begins on the way back. My father needed the car at the car dealership as it was scheduled to have routine maintenance done the next morning. My father sent her the address of the dealership and requested she drop the car off and he will go pick us up at the dealer. Now that the context is out of the way, here's where my sister made a mistake. She typed in the address and clicked on the nearest place with that road. The issue is that the nearest place with that road was a town going an hour in the opposite direction. She gets onto a road I will call State Route 100. This intersects with Interstate 1, which is where we're supposed to get onto. When she passes the highway, this following interaction ensues. Me, you were supposed to take that right. Her, that's not what the map says. 5 minutes later, I say again. Me, we are heading in the wrong direction. This does not go home. Her, maybe it's an alternate route that's faster? Me, I don't think a road going in the opposite direction is faster. She cuts me off. Her, now annoyed. Listen, I'm going to focus on what the map says, not on you. Just stop already. And with that, I followed her instruction. After all, why would I complain on going on a road I have never been on? From what I remember after that, we stopped for gas about half an hour in. My sister was still convinced we were going in the right direction, but why would I correct her? She's listening to the map, after all. The fallout. We hit an expressway and my sister is convinced we made it home and is pleased with herself. This was until an overhead sign said, Town B Regional Airport, 1 mile. At this point, my sister realizes her mistake. She starts freaking out, saying, I didn't know this road went here. I was following the map. OP, why didn't you tell me we were going the wrong way? I was scared of her getting mad at me, so I just said, after you told me to stop, I stopped paying attention to where you were going. She eventually pulled to a gas station and saw where she sent her GPS to. After correcting her mistake, we headed the opposite direction, although the car ride was rather silent. We eventually see signs for the amusement park we started at because she had to turn left at the road I originally told her to turn at. And that's how I turned a drive that was supposed to be an hour and a half into a 3.5-hour journey. Years have passed since this happened, and I told my father, who thought it was hysterical. I often considered telling my sister, but we sadly rarely speak anymore. It's mind-boggling how good at navigation some people naturally are. There's some people out there that do YouTube channels where they play this geography game. There's this map thing where they show you a picture of a roadway from Google Maps. And some people are so good at landmarks and surroundings that they can tell you where on earth that is within like 100 meters. It's absolutely crazy how some people are just really good at that. I'm not the best at navigation. I do rely on GPS, and that has caused... I'll never forget we were in California and we were driving and following the GPS and traveling along, and it's like we get to our destination and it's like your destination is on the right and it's in the middle of a place with nothing on either side. So GPS is definitely nice, but there is no replacing being really good with navigation. Our next story today is by Crane Ape 11. Don't tell me that I have time. Hi, first time posting here, but I have enjoyed the stories. Some 15 years ago, I worked in a local shipyard that focuses in repair work and refitting of all ship types. The yard resides in Europe. Now, it's important to note that we have a 200 plus meter dry dock and roughly the same in pier for outfitting. At this particular time, we had 2 medium passenger ferries docked there, and they were moored on both sides of the dry dock dam, leaving 50 meters between them, mostly water. I had a newish boss on the job after my old boss had retired. The new boss was very stuck up and entitled, so we shall call him Entitled Boss, or ED. Other people that come up in this story is me, my co-worker, let's call him Matt, it's not his real name, and the first officer of the other ship, let's call him FO. It is normal for our yard to be understaffed by a lot, by half in the least. So a normal workday was between 12 to 16 hours, 6 to 7 days a week. We were well paid for all overtime, so we didn't mind. We were really busy on these ships and they were moored aft to aft, so we were able to lift all materials on their aft ramps with a crane. I worked with Crane as the guy who arranges the lifts and communicates with the operator at the pier. Matt did the same shipside. We worked well together and had done that together a lot. I was in my late 20s, Matt was in his 50s. This one morning, Ed, Entitled Boss, comes to let us know of a new job. Ed: I have a small extra job for you to do since you're not that busy. Me: there are about 20 lifts on the pier and more always comes during the day, I noted to him. Matt was quite silent. He never really talked much anyway. Ed: I have a dredge coming in 2 hours. You will lift the bucket and the bucket arm off the dredge. A quick job, just lift the 3 things off. You should be done in 30 minutes. Me: just 30 minutes? Ed: yes, they are detached already. Me: okay, boss. Matt looked doubtful. We started working lifting all we could in 2 hours. Then we saw the dredge. This thing was big. The bucket was 60 tons alone, and the 2 sections of the arm were 60 tons and 80 tons. Oh, and the heavier bit was still attached. At this point, I groaned, but Matt grinned from ear to ear. Matt: boss's orders, boss's responsibility. Then I grinned. Cue malicious compliance. We got to work, we set the crane into position in a way it was closest to the dredge due to weight. This also meant it blocked any other cranes from lifting to either ferries anything. We got the bucket unloaded on a trailer. This took an hour. Then we lifted the other half of the arm. This took an hour to attach to the crane. Oops, lunchtime. Union rules. Then 1 more hour to unload it. Now the last arm was a bit tricky. We had to suspend it from the crane and remove the pins that held it to the digger half of the dredge. The pins are relatively small, only 200 kilograms or 440 pounds each, and held in place by a few tons of pull or weight of the arm. It took us 4 hours to free the pins. So any of you who are keeping track at this point, we were 7.5 hours into a half-hour job. At this point, some of the crew from both ships and a lot of people from the shipyard were watching us work. This was due to the fact that nothing had been lifted to either ship in the past 7 or 8 hours, and guys had to stop working. This is when I met a very excited and red FO of the ship. FO: what the heck are you doing? Why are we not getting materials in? Me: you need to talk to him. His orders, as I pointed to Ed on the dock. Not quite sure what was said, but the FO probably tore him a new one and proceeded to stomp back on board his ship. I saw him exchange a few words with the captain of the ship, and the captain was dialing his phone. It took about 5 minutes for our CEO to get to the pier and proceeded to chew my boss's rear. I am pretty sure he was sitting funny after that. We finished the job right around 8 hours and proceeded to lift our backed up queue on board the ships. For some weird reason, he never told me how to do my job or had any quick jobs after that. As I heard, he was let go a few years later. Our stories for today have come to a close. If you enjoy this content, please click like or subscribe, or click the notification bell so you get alerts when new videos drop. Until we meet again, have a perfect day.